Hello and welcome to the Titus Timeout podcast. I'm Jenny Abney-Civy, and today I'm going to discuss the Titus Solar Plexicon. The Solar Plexicon is a heating, cooling, displacement ventilation unit. It's been a long time since I discussed displacement ventilation systems, so let me give a quick refresher first. A displacement ventilation diffuser usually sits along a wall, so let's draw a wall in our displacement unit. Displacement ventilation uses low-velocity cold air to cool a space. Since cold air falls and heat rises, the cold air comes out of the diffuser and moves slowly along the floor because it's colder than the room temperature. It moves until it hits a heat source, like a person, and then it warms up and rises across that person, bringing that person ventilation air and cooling them at the same time. And then the heat from the person is taken away and up to the ceiling into the return system. A challenge for displacement ventilation systems is that the air that leaves the diffuser has to be colder than room temperature or it won't fall to the floor. So if the air is warmer, like you'd use during heating, the air will leave the diffuser something like this and go straight up to the ceiling. And so this is why you typically can't heat with displacement ventilation systems. This is where the Solar Plexicon comes in. As a side note, there is a regular Plexicon that functions the same way, but the solar one's just much cooler. So let's look at how a displacement ventilation diffuser is made. Now I didn't draw it in the other picture, but usually there's a duct cover that comes up here and the airflow comes from the top, so I'll draw that in here. In a regular displacement ventilation diffuser, there's a large plenum inside. The supply air comes from the supply duct, and as it expands into this plenum, the air slows down, and this is how you get the low velocity air that comes out of the displacement ventilation diffusers. In the Solar Plexicon, there are two sections. So let me draw the Solar Plexicon installed against a wall. Put in our ductwork up here. So it's divided into two sections, kind of like this. And then there's a damper assembly that controls whether the airflow goes into the heating side or the cooling side. So in cooling mode, it blocks off the back section. The cold air comes down into the large plenum and goes out just like any standard displacement ventilation diffuser. Now let's draw one in heating. Put in our duct cover and our inlet and our two sections. Now the damper is in a position so that it pushes air into the back section. So now warm air would come in, go into the back section, and it keeps the velocity high enough that it can push it out across the floor. So the solar part's pretty cool. There's a small PC board in the Solar Plexicon that senses the temperature of the supply air and controls the actuator that determines which section the airflow will be directed to. This board and the actuator are controlled by a small solar cell on the face of the unit that takes ambient light and powers the board and actuator. So how cool is that? So that's how the Solar Plexicon works and how it allows you to do heating from a displacement ventilation diffuser. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thanks for taking a time out with us.